What's the word, y'all? Great day. I'm Sergio, aka Soldier. It's my YouTube channel, SVG Services. I'm here to serve y'all in whatever way I need to. Right? Today, I'm gonna be talking about character development. That's my topic for today. Uh, Character development is something that I have been very closely acquainted to and dedicated to for, I can say, a span of 13 years, right? So 2012, really like 2011, but 2012 I say is for sure when I started intentionally developing my character. And in 2012, what that looked for me at 18 going on 19 was just slowly but surely seeing myself, was just acknowledging and becoming aware of is something wrong, not just in life but with me, my character, like how I am. Not that I'm a bad person in general, but when you're a child, those are your developmental stages of life. That's when you developing your character. And dictating on how your upbringing was, that's going to dictate the development or lack thereof of your character and yourself, right? So I was at a serious deficit and lack within of just, how I lived and how I operated, how I thought, how I talked to myself, right? And I never really was guided to properly develop myself. So I had to take the reins and just slowly but surely start doing it for myself, right? Even, you are your biggest responsibility, yourself, right? But when you're a parent, you have kids, your kids are your responsibility until they're not. No matter what you did or didn't do as a parent, or what your parents did or didn't do for you, it's still up to you to fill in the blanks when and where necessary, right? So that's what I've been doing. 2012, I went to prison. Well, I went to jail. Then I ended up going to prison. I ended up being sentenced to a prison sentence. So I did 5 years from 2012 until 2017. That was my incubation stage in a sense. So if 2011 to 2012 was like my spiritual awakening for myself, I was just becoming aware of myself, aware of life, my circumstances, other people around me, blah blah. Then 2013 and beyond was my official development, you know what I'm saying? Just my development, right? I used to spend a lot of time praying. I spent a lot of time in the church, Bible study, in jail, in prison. Not before I went. I spent time before I went, but while I was in there, it just kept me anchored. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really fully just able to conceptualize or perceive myself as being on my own spiritual journey, right? I just knew I needed change, and I needed change, and I wanted different for myself. I didn't know how to go about that. I ended up robbing somebody, making a split decision one night that cost me umpteen years of freedom. But I used those years to develop myself. I used those years to observe men, observe males, because that's what was a part of, that's one thing that was lacking from my development as a child, my childhood. I didn't have a positive male role model. So going to prison, I got to see what kind of male I wanted to be and didn't want to be. I got to see characteristics and how niggas move to gauge their results. Okay, he did this in this situation, he moved like this and got these results. All right, he moved like this in this situation, maybe a similar one, and he got these kind of results. All right, and you just get to see, all right, where do I fit in? Where do I want to fall on the spectrum, right? To me, it was about like being honorable and being stand up. You know, I gravitated more towards I could just say positive attributes that I was being presented. You know, honor, self-respect, respect for others, not just going hard for the sake of going hard, but just being courageous and standing your ground, standing up for yourself, standing up for others, if and when necessary. Standing on your word, you know what I'm saying? Doing what you said you was going to do, or not doing what you said you weren't going to do. You know, if you owe somebody, like shit, just all the little micro shit that you learn along the way growing up. If you have that kind of environment, if you have men around you, and you're a boy. So I got to pick and choose. Alright, I want to be like this. I don't want to be like that. And once I got home from prison, that still wasn't just the end of my journey. Like it wasn't okay. I unlocked myself, and I think now I kind of thought it was just gonna be I'm gonna hit the ground running when I get home, and it's gonna be awesome and no. More character development, my boy, because all I really did was just like kind of outline what I wanted to be, right, or how I wanted to be. But I didn't have all the necessary experiences to have shaped me completely into that being, right? So if I know I want to be, I want to move with integrity. I want to be honest and honorable and all these things. Well, that takes a hell of a lot of real-time experiences for you to fail at, for you to observe, for you to go through yourself, observe others going through, and really learn. Because when you're learning something by yourself, it's a lot different than having somebody pull you up, or having somebody there guiding you, telling you, hey, this, and this, blah, 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 blah. You may have instances of people telling you certain things, but for the most part, I spend a lot of time in my mind just replaying scenarios and just analyzing shit, right? Really just taking account of my actions, my thoughts, my feelings, and the results thereof. That's it. Just taking account for myself, right? And that's part of character, being accountable. That's part of my character, being accountable. Not allowing myself to blame others for why things are the way they are in my life, right? Even my parents, my mother, my father, I speak about enduring abuse growing up and shit like that, but I still can't use that as a crutch or as a excuse as to why I'm underdeveloped as a human, as a man, right? I can use it as a reference point. I can use it as, a focal point. Fuck that. I'm gonna just say reference point. I could use it as a reference point to see what changes I need to make, right? How I need to develop myself, because that's also how I learned too. That's also how I learned to develop myself, was addressing traumas, right? Not just from a standpoint of I'm hurt, I'm upset. Okay, well, why? What happened? Why are you upset about what happened? And making room for there to be another reason why things transpired, or even why I'm still affected by things other than, oh, this person did this, my mom did that, blah, blah. And because it's never to diminish what you went through, but you can't use it as a perpetual, well, this happened, so I'm just like this and this. You can do that, that's your right, but that's weak. You're not gonna get the results you think you want by living like that. That's a victim mindset, right? A boss mindset, accountable adult human mindset is, okay, I experienced these things, But now it's on me to pinpoint, well, damn, why do I get these kind of results? If I know I'm this kind of person, if I know deep down I'm this kind of person, or I want to be this kind of person, and blah blah blah, well, why don't my results match that? What am I not doing, or what am I doing to create negative circumstances for myself, or keep myself out of the positive ones that I so deeply desire, right? That's why the emphasis on character development. You know, in the Bible, it's a passage, I don't know exactly what, but I just know it say something to the effect of, you don't receive what you want from God because you ask amiss, right? I perceive that to mean you not ask, so I perceive that to mean like you asking to be a millionaire, but you're not asking for the proper mind. You're not asking to be revealed what your purpose is. You're not asking to learn how to communicate better, how to do this. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not asking for the real things. You're not asking for wisdom and knowledge and guidance. You're just asking for $1 million. That's why you're not getting it, right? Because to get $1 million, to be given something, let's just say by God, right? God is our parent. He our father, or, you know, whatever the case is. He our provider, our supreme provider, right? And let's break it down to real world terms. Let's say you a parent, you have a child. Your child come to you and say, Mom, Dad, can I have $1,000? Can I have $100? You gonna be in your mind, well, why? What you need it for? What you gonna do with it? Cause you know your child, right? You've observed them over time. You know that, for one, they just a child. Two, you know your child, right? So you want to gauge and make sure that they're able to handle what they're asking for. That's why you prepare them to have the things that they want. You don't dismiss them and saying, well, I want to be this, I want to be that. You say, all right. Why? Like, you question them. You make them see and understand what they're really asking for and why. So it's the same with why you don't have certain things, why you don't have a healthy relationship with the opposite sex, like whatever, however it is for you, right? Why you don't have certain things. It's not even fully or mostly about the tangible things, the material things, right? It's mostly about the unseen things. Why don't you have courage? Why don't you have the audacity to speak up for yourself and be yourself and express yourself fully and whole, like you know you want to deep down? Why do you allow things to happen to you that you don't agree with, that you don't like, right? Why don't you speak up for yourself? Why don't you consistently take the actions and the steps that you know you need to do to live the life you want to live, right? That takes character development. That's a part of character development. And, you know, just one thing I learned, it's not a one-stop shop. It's not all right, well, I addressed this, so everything's okay now. No, it's okay. You acknowledge this, you address this. This leads you into something deeper, right? Because a lot of things we address is symptoms of things. We don't fully get to the root of things, you know, sometimes. Or we think the symptom of what we see is the whole problem, right? So let's say males being hypersexual and like running through women, right? Creating broken homes and shit. So the whole entire issue isn't niggas ain't shit, they this and this, and the issue is each individual male that has created this type of situation is at a deficit within themselves, within their character. They have a lapse of character. They are underdeveloped in certain parts of their character, which they can only make the decisions of how far they've met themselves, right? And that go for anybody. That go for women too. Yeah, nobody's absolved of I ain't gonna say guilt, but of accountability for their own actions, right? So you got a lot of males out here that's underdeveloped. They immature. They think they supposed to lead with materials and what they have versus just their character. How do you operate? How do you lead yourself? How do you manage your emotions? How do you communicate when there's an issue? You know what I'm saying? What's your foresight for your life? What's your direction for your life? What's your purpose? Right? We miss out on it. We don't have a lot of these things situated within ourselves. So we out here trying to run off our natural inclination mixed with what society teaches you. So you have a natural inclination to want to be with a woman, like as a man, as a boy, whatever. You have a natural inclination to want to be with a woman, with a girl, whatever. But if you are not developed properly within yourself, you're not going to engage in those scenarios effectively, or you know what I'm saying? You're gonna mislead the woman that decides to follow you because you haven't led yourself properly. You aren't leading yourself with clear vision and intention and intentionality and purpose, and you know what I'm saying? You're not leading yourself with those things, so you can't lead her with those, right? As a woman, how I look is you accepting these bum ass niggas that present themselves to you, because if you have an underdeveloped sense of intuition and the underdeveloped trust in yourself to make decisions, you're gonna choose to accept the wrong things, right? You're gonna choose a guy that presents a fucking bullshit ass image to you that another female who is developed, whether on her own or just she had that type of upbringing that afforded her that. Dudes that encounter bum dudes that encounter developed women don't have the same results. They don't have the same results as niggas that encounter underdeveloped women. And the same go, in the opposite. Guys who are developed within themselves, when they encounter underdeveloped women, they don't have the same kind of experience because their development won't let them align with something that isn't in alignment with them, that isn't on the same frequency, that doesn't move the same, that doesn't speak the same, that doesn't operate the same, right? So, this is on what? I'm 18 minutes in. I've been rambling, y'all. But, take some time to get to know yourself and develop yourself from the inside out. Make sure you are the change that you want to see in life first, right? Because life can only meet you as far as you met yourself. If you aren't kind to yourself inside, if you have a negative self-talk, you aren't going to be able to communicate with the rest of life in a loving, caring, nurturing manner, no matter you man, female, whoever. If you aren't nice to yourself, if you aren't kind to yourself, how you going to be kind to somebody else genuinely, right? You're going to be performing because you feel like you should in a societal situation, but you don't have the actual capacity to do it, and not in a consistent, perpetual manner, right? So it takes character development to, live a healthy life, I'll just say. Part of my character development is acknowledging how wrong I be a lot of the times, right? Sometimes I go off my ego, right? I feel offended by something, or I think somebody playing with me, and I end up feeling offended. So now I act on how I feel because I thought somebody was playing with me, right? Or disrespecting me, or even if they was, right? But how do you handle it effectively? Where ineffectively is, how do I handle this situation where I'm not crashing out, I'm not doing something that's going to bring me harm in the long run, or even them unnecessarily, right? me being able to take a step back, take a break, take a deep breath, say, all right, maybe they're not playing with me. Maybe they're not doing what I assume that they're doing because I experienced this before somewhere in life, but I don't need to dredge it up now. I don't need to create this to match what I'm scared to experience, right? And that's what happens a lot when you are underdeveloped. You create chaotic and unnecessary situations for yourself out of your own pure underdevelopment. Now, it is still with the overall life intent to show you and guide you out of your, out of your low state and help you evolve. But if you don't care about the decisions you make, how they affect you, and the fact that everything is on you, no matter what somebody else actually literally does to you, around you, in front of you, it's always a part of it that's completely on you, right? You allow yourself to be in an environment around, certain people or certain things. You subject yourself to shit because of the decisions you don't make or do make. So if you want to, better quality of life, you got to be a better quality of person, of human, of man, woman, whatever. And all those things will be added unto you, but not until you do the work and not make yourself look like you did the work, not dress yourself up outwardly, making yourself appear a certain way to fool people and trick people. No, because you can't fool yourself or God, the creator. So you got to do the work. You can avoid it as long as you want, but you still gonna keep having the same experiences until you boss the fuck up. And this, I'm talking to myself first and foremost, right? So until you boss the fuck up and you decide, all right, I'm tired of creating negative situations for myself. What do I need to do better? What do I need to do to get out my own way? Just get out your own way. That's the most obstacles you're going to experience is the ones you create for yourself, not what somebody else did to you, what you do yourself. So, take a chance, take a chance on change, and allow yourself to evolve. It's okay to change. It's necessary to change. The more you stay stagnant, the harder it's going to be to change. So for all today, and just for all that see this video, I extend to y'all the same grace and compassion, mercy, and everything I've been afforded in life to make these changes for myself. I pray the same for y'all. I pray wisdom and guidance and everything. Discipline, that's a huge one. I pray that for all of us, and the willingness to apply all this shit when you do get a hold of it. So to all that's seeing this, much love and respect, and shit, stay doing your best, y'all.